Despite it being over a month since starting college, Jung, our proto-archer, has not yet adjusted due to his current concerns. While sneaking around suspiciously, he sighs in relief. He does not see her. We can assume her is the reason for concern. We see a young lady behind our Jung. Unnoticed, she strikes him with a kick from behind. She wants to know what exactly does he find to be nice. She wants to know the reason why he has been sneaking around as if he was avoiding someone. Suspicions confirmed, she is indeed his biggest concern. She argues he is the only male junior she is close with, but he doesn't like her and instead tries to avoid her. Our proto-Jung denies this, but this was the exact reply she was trying to get. Our proto got tricked, as she exclaimed, "That's a big relief." And her shoulders hurt, so our proto offers to carry her bag. Jung now has a flashback to the past to explain the one reason why he cannot stand up to her. Guys, is our young proto saying he can't get his Excalibur to stand and salute this beautiful girl? We hope this is not the case, because we are all here to see the mighty Excalibur at work. Jung remembers it all started on the new student orientation trip. After a nervous introduction, he is offered a drink, and he happily accepts while knowing he does not handle his liquor well. After a drink he feels like vomiting. However, the bathrooms are occupied. At this time someone exclaims the bathroom outside might be vacant. He turns around and tries to make his way to the restroom located outside. During the rush to get to the restroom, he falls onto the girl we saw abusing him earlier. Oddly enough, his hands get caught in her shirt, lifting one side and exposing her beautiful chest armor. She immediately misunderstands the situation, which is understandable. Guys, how does one fall onto someone and end up in such a compromising position? Everyone can see her exposed chest as she shouts at him to get off her. She eventually notices he is about to start vomiting all over her. The scene switches to a classroom. Jung sincerely wants to apologize to her, but she pulls the "actions speak louder than words" card on our proto. Guys, this is why our proto feels trapped. He is now trying his very best to appease this queen. She has turned the proto into her personal lapdog. She then orders Jung to buy her banana juice with his own money, but he argues he will go broke if this continues. She asks Jung why he's being so petty over a few dollars. She is pulling a classic modern-day woman card. Guys, you should remember not to fall for this trick. Every dollar adds up, guys. She then proceeds to guilt-trip our proto, reminding him in a subtle way that she still smells his vomiting all over her. We then see he bought her the banana drink with his own money, and she is now happy. She not only has Jung buying her drinks, but also food and doing her homework. Our boy is playing the active role of a husband, but without any of the benefits. Guys, our proto overhears simping. She gets a call and rushes to take the phone from her bag. While something drops without her noticing, our proto proceeds to pick it up. He was about to tell her she dropped it, but was surprised when he realized what it was. Immediately Jung hit the device that fell from her bag. He thinks to himself, interesting, it seems to be a device controller of some sort. Oh guys, I wonder what this normal pink remote controller looking device could be. I am pretty sure she didn't just drop a remote controller for one of those hidden play toys. The scene shifts to marketing class, while Jung ponders to himself that this device must be like the ones he sees in the adult video. Jung thinks even though she acts so highly, she actually bought something like this. If he plays his cards right, he can maybe use this device against her, and based on her actions, maybe he will keep it a secret. Now we get to know her name is Jang Yoon. She is selected by the lecturer to do her presentation before the entire class. What perfect timing. Our proto sees this as his chance to activate her device. While thinking she might sue him, he accidentally presses the button, turning the device on. Yoon can be seen with her hands hiding her mouth and her face flush red. Why did she stop reading? Could it be? Does she actually have a device like this equipped while she is in class? It seems Yoon is a not so innocent girl as she portrays herself to be. Jung notices this. Also the teacher notices and asks, is something wrong? She denies this and looks suspiciously towards her bag, wondering how her device could activate, while her controller is in her bag, with no one having access to it. She proceeds to try and finish her presentation, but Jung thinks to himself, her reaction just now, there is no way she'd come to class with such a toy equipped with her rice cake. So he decides to confirm this by pressing the button once again. Her face starts getting flushed red and sweaty as she gets more aroused, and everyone starts to notice her suspicious behavior in the middle of her presentation. She, however, tries her best to keep her composure, while Jung comes to the conclusion there can be no doubt that device is indeed inside, and she is really into that stuff. She has such a device equipped and still talks to him, and even presents to the class with a completely straight face. Jung thinks if he goes any further she will be in trouble, so he should turn the device off. But the savage in our proto has awakened, guys. He thinks to himself, wouldn't this be the perfect chance for revenge? Considering she is not looking at him, she should not know he is the one with the controller, and probably thinks it's just a malfunction. Even if she figures it out, he can just throw it away. With this train of thought, he decides to do it. As a small prank like this is nothing compared to what she put him through. He keeps activating the device, and she seems flustered and in shock. OMG guys, it seems the vibrating is so powerful. The students are asking if anyone can hear the buzzing sound. The student asks if someone is getting a call. Yoon is now obviously trying to speak louder to cover the sound of the vibrating device throughout the presentation. As she is almost at her limit, she clenches her legs together, and her face is now flushed red. Jung is seen trying his hardest to keep his laughter under control, as he notices she is talking a lot louder to try and cover the vibrating sound of the device. Noting the fact she is the one who would normally order him around, our proto, now with just a click of a button, she is totally helpless. He feels a bit sorry, but not really, as she was not nice to him, so why should he be nice to her? All that aside, he thinks she is holding out pretty well. Jung thinks the device maybe isn't that strong, and he should raise the level a bit higher, and so he does. This girl is super suspicious. With everyone gazing at her, she starts to imagine herself without armor while everyone stares at her. Guys, I think she is an exhibitionist. While Jung is over the back looking at her suspiciously, she finally notices and shamefully looks away. Finally, she can no longer hold it in as she reaches her climax. Jung notices her reactions and wonders if he went too far. Jung doesn't seem to understand he has done her a great service by granting her the thrill of her life like a god. He sits afar and watches his subject tremble with pleasure as she concludes the end of her presentation. She can feel her rice cake paper is all wet. She sits at her seat and immediately searches her bag for the device, while exclaiming it should not have broken so easily despite being the cheaper version. She notices the device is not there, as she thinks to herself, why is it not in her bag? She remembers Jung assuring her he would hold her bag. She immediately looks around with an angry expression. Of course, it must be him. He could not be more obvious as he looks away, trying to avoid her scary glare. The class has now come to an end, and Jung tries to get out as quickly as possible. But all good things must come to an end. A price must be paid, and she is now at his desk, surely with all intentions of collecting. Please subscribe guys, like, and comment. Yoon proceeds to accuse Jung of the deed, but he promptly pretends to be oblivious to what she is accusing him of doing, saying he doesn't know what he is being accused of, and that she needs to be more specific. Jung is trying to smart talk his way out of this one. Of course, Yoon would not dare say she had such a toy hidden in her rice cakes while in public. Jung now tries to leave, thinking his wits have not failed him. Yoon angrily takes his bag and searches with desperation in the hope of finding the device. He is smart enough to not have placed the device in his bag, but suddenly Yoon looks in the direction of Jung's Excalibur and seeing a bulge in his armor. She thinks it must be the device because of course no Excalibur could show such a big imprint. Jung reprimands Yoon, saying she should not be so quick to accuse others, but he is stopped immediately as she reaches out and takes hold of his Excalibur. Thinking she is sure that must be the device, Yi-yoon angrily holds it firmly before holding Jung by his shirt and pulling him out of the classroom, all the way into an abandoned room. Guys, did she secretly like the feel of our Proto's Excalibur? Now she wants to unsheath his Excalibur in this abandoned room. There will be no one to stop her from extracting his potent protein. Jung, not knowing what will happen, wonders what will be the price for his earlier actions. He imagines Yi-yoon will want to extract his precious protein. Because he is the one responsible for flipping her switch, and now her extraction equipment is overheating and needs some cool protein shake, he needs to take responsibility and pound the rice cake. But this was only our Proto wishful thinking, as we can see his friend with a scary glare. Yi-yoon utters scary words to our Proto and asks angrily why he has the device. He should know better than to take the things of others, and why would he turn it on in the class while knowing what it was? What if she got caught? Would he have taken responsibility? He caused her to feel so embarrassed. Guys, this girl has the audacity to lecture our Proto. Are you a guy of perversion? Was it fun for you to see me like that? Want me to report you for exercise problems? Guys, there are words I can't say on here, so please, use your imagination. Exercise problem means something else entirely. She carries on, but Jung had enough of her BS. He shouted at her to shut up because he had had enough, and just because he had been nice to her, she decided to walk all over him and call him every name under the sun. Yi-yoon called him a guy of perversion, but look, she is the one walking around with such a device deep in her rice cakes. Again, guys, use your imagination. A guy of perversion means something else. She even went to class like this. Young thinks if Yi-yoon wants to report it, she should go ahead and do so. All he did was touch a remote controller, and she will be the one who gets humiliated for having this device in the rice cake. Jung finally asserts his dominance as he makes it clear that Yi-yoon is in no position to lecture him. Though he did not intend to go this far, he was caught up in his emotions and now feels as if he has become the villain. To Jung's surprise, Yi-yoon now decides to negotiate. She wants to know what it will take for him to keep this all a secret, showing a side of her Jung has never seen before. He decides to take advantage of this opportunity to bring an end to their master and sub relationship. He tells her his only request, which is for her not to expect to treat him however she wants anymore, because his days as her sub are over. But Yi-yoon seems to think, or basically suggests, that Jung should want her to fulfill more than one request. Guys, she is behaving suspiciously. I think she really wants the protein man to do more exciting stuff to her, but she wants him to stand up and take control of her, pun intended, while our Proto wonders if it is because his request was too simple. Why did she ask if there was no other request? He ponders what would others ask for in this situation. While sweating profusely, he utters his second demand. From now on, it's your turn to do whatever I say. Next chapter, we see Jung thinking he got so caught up in the mood that he reassures her in a creepy way that she has to do whatever he says, and he will keep it a secret. Now he can't take back his words. After all, she was the one who implied he should make more requests. He wonders why she suggested something so pervy. He would have been content with just the opportunity to have her leave him alone. After all, he did not have a single strange thought. We all know he had strange thoughts. Let's call his bull on this one. Jung thinks to himself, he cannot allow her to do anything, as it would seem she was innocent. He will at least have her run some errands like she did to him, as there is nothing pervy about doing some errands. He notices she has been quiet for a while now, but suddenly she turns to him, suggesting he goes ahead as she has to stop somewhere. He is about to agree and leave when his spider senses start to tingle. What if she's about to go to the cops and report him for his recent actions towards her? Jung then suggested he should accompany her. Surprised, she asks him what he is doing and not to follow her, as it has nothing to do with him, and he should not worry. Jung assures her that he is just curious, and whether it has anything to do with him or not, he will have to see for himself. Yi-yoon, with a disgruntled expression, asks if he is afraid she was going to report him. As she sees he was stunted by her question, she confirms in awe that she was correct. That is indeed what he was thinking. He tries to deny her assumption even though he was daring her to go to the cops a few moments ago to report him. Now here he is afraid she will do so. She assures him she would not be doing any such thing and that he should stop following her, but he still insists she should just tell him what she was going to do. Annoyed at his persistence, Yi-yoon angrily takes hold of him and tells him in a silent but angry tone that she is going to the restroom. She hasn't been able to remove the device from her rice cakes as yet. Guys, it seems all this time the device was still on. She has been walking around with this device in her rice cakes all this time. You should all try this in real life. It will be fun, guys. She tells him her rice paper now feels all sticky and wet. She is disgruntled. How could he make her say all that? Does he have no style? That is why he has no girlfriend. Oh, she went too far this time. She struck a nerve with that comment. They both start to argue. Jung wants to know what does not having a girlfriend have to do with anything. She elaborates that he lacks attentiveness and style. How could a pervy guy like him only know to play pervy pranks on girls, have a chance of getting a girlfriend? But should she really be the one saying all that? After all, she has no boyfriend, and she is the pervy one walking around with a device in her rice cakes. Jung has had enough of her attitude. Despite all that just transpired, it seems she still needs to be trained properly. Making her simply do some errands, or simply leave him alone just won't be enough. He wants to make her submit to him by all means. He then remembered from the moment he flipped the switch until now, his goal has still remained the same. He took hold of her arm, reminding her the next class would be starting soon, and they should hurry, otherwise they would be late. He then reassured her she was right. He is just a pervy guy who knows how to do pervy stuff to girls, and didn't she say she would do whatever he wants her to do? Then she should not ever think about removing that device from her rice cake. Get the popcorn, guys, this is going to be good. They arrive in class, and Yi-yoon is greeted by her classmate, while Jung thinks to himself, even though they are in the same class here, he does not even know her name, but he knows, unlike himself, she is really popular, and there's nothing he can do about his popularity, since everyone already heard about his puking incident. Now he hears a few ladies calling him the vomiting guy. They try to apologize, but he tries to play it cool by saying it's fine. Yi-yoon sees this and thinks he is clearly pretending to act friendly, despite knowing just a few moments ago he was issuing weird exercise orders to her. She has to flash back to their previous conversation when Jung was trying to persuade her he is actually a nice guy, and if she admits she was wrong, then he would be generous towards her. Feeling a sense of defeat, she laments, this guy was such a sub before he caught her with that device in the rice cake. Now there seems to be no end to him taking advantage of her. Determined not to lose, she dared him to try, because he won't be able to get her to even bat an eye. While deep in thought regretting having challenged Jung, she did so merely because she hates to lose. A girl from the class asks her casually, "Are you two dating?" Shocked and flustered at this question, Yi-yoon rambles on, denying there being any such relationship between the two, while stating, "Don't be ridiculous. Who would date such an incompetent guy like Jung?" When asked why such a sudden question, the girl explained, it's because Jung and Yi-yoon can always be seen together, but maybe she misunderstood. The person asking the awkward question now introduces herself as Baek Min-ah, and she is looking at Jung with a suspicious expression. Guys, I think Baek Min-ah will soon be in trouble. Baek Min-ah mentions they are in the same year class, but they do not know each other. She suggests they get along, and Jung immediately agrees and also suggests they eat together sometimes. The other girls are shocked at his sudden proposal, knowing Baek Min-ah is usually the type to avoid interaction. The other girls fear if she eats with him, someone might think she is interested in Jung. Baek Min-ah then surprises everyone when she asked, is something wrong with her having an interest in Jung? Everyone is shocked and wants to know if she is serious. Baek Min-ah laughs at their reaction, as if to say she is not serious, but then a sneaky expression exclaims, what if she was being serious? While Baek Min-ah might be joking about Jung, Yi-yoon notices he is getting all red and flustered. Guys, I think Yi-yoon is getting jealous. She does not want to share his protein shake in the future. Yi-yoon then tries to deter Baek Min-ah's actions by saying Jung is not as bland as he looks. He actually has a wicked side to him that likes to play with girls. Before she finishes her statement, she suddenly stops in shock as Jung activates the device, which is still deep inside the rice cake. Once again the vibration is heard by the other classmates, but Yi-yoon quickly suggests it must be her phone. It is on vibrate mode. She then looks at our proto with an indignant expression, not noticing Baek Min-ah is in turn now looking at her with great curiosity and suspicion. The class continues, but Yi-yoon is unable to focus as she is anticipating the activation of the device. She thinks to herself, did she really make him suffer that badly? She did tease him a lot, but this was not because she wanted to make him suffer. Besides, he was the one who did something wrong to her. He also accepted it was all his fault, so why now? He wants to play the victim. Her thoughts were then interrupted as she finally noticed the light vibration in the rice cake. Not sure as to how long it had been active without her noticing, she looked towards Jung. Yi-yoon thought to herself, although she did tell him to do whatever he wanted, how could he be doing this to her, even though the vibration was weak? She then thinks, maybe he is trying to be cautious by hiding the sound, and she can easily tolerate the device at this level of vibration, or so she thought. As time goes by, it gets harder for her to resist, as she is getting more sensitive to the light vibration. She wonders if this reaction is because she climaxed once already, but this light vibration is not enough to get her rice cakes to reach peak satisfaction. It is just barely not strong enough to get her there. She now wonders if this light vibration, keeping her at the edge, was Jung's plan all along, but this was not the goal of Jung. He was simply trying to avoid the loud noise of the device, but now he cannot tell if she is feeling it at all. The device is now driving Yi-yoon crazy. It is keeping her in a constant state of teasing. She is at the absolute edge of wishing she could just climax. She tries twisting her body around to find the angle at which the device will touch that sweet spot, bringing her over the edge. She suddenly comes to the realization she is doing all this in order to reach a big climax while in class. She no longer cares about the fact that her actions are embarrassing and shameful. Now she only wants one thing, and that is to reach her climax. Her thoughts are interrupted as she is shocked by her classmate asking if she is okay, because she does not look so well, and she is sweating a lot. Yi-yoon, in such an aroused state, wishes her classmate would not talk to her at the moment. She is just about to reach climax, but she can do nothing about her classmate suddenly turning around to talk to her. This conversation is also greatly contributing to her state of arousal. She can't help it. She is going to climax while talking to her classmate. Her ice cake is about to experience total satisfaction, but the device suddenly stops. Yi-yoon is greatly disappointed as Jung stops the device, thinking their classmate must have caught on to them playing such a pervy game in the classroom. He thinks with a disgruntled expression, why did this girl have to suddenly talk to Yi-yoon and make a fuss that surprised him? Yi-yoon replies with dissatisfaction and disappointment, saying she is fine, but we know she is not okay. At this point, she is starving for a taste of Excalibur. Guys, this is how you should be with your lady. Bring her to the edge multiple times, and stop. Trust me, she will become obedient, and beg you to impale the rice cakes. Like a wild animal, Yi-yoon thinks she is in a bad situation. She can no longer persist. Class is now over. And immediately after she says her final goodbye to everyone, she angrily takes hold of our proto, and while she pulls him away angrily, their action draws the attention of Baek Min-ah, who looks into their direction with a very suspicious and jealous expression. This time, Yi-yoon pulls our proto to the men's restroom. She slams her hands to the wall behind our proto. Asserting her dominance, she tells him that's enough. He can say she'll ost, so he should do something about her wet rice cake. As she lifts her tablecloth, she shows our proto plump, thick, mouth-watering rice cake. Yes guys, she is finally acting right. She is obediently offering our proto a very nutritious meal. Girls, you should also offer this nutritious meal to the friend you like. Trust me, he will eat with no hesitation. You can thank me later. Yoon sits face to face atop our proto, who is currently in shock. He asks if she really means to be doing this, and she tells him it's not like he wasn't hoping things would turn out like this. Our proto is still suspicious as to why she is acting like this. He wonders if she is trying to take revenge for what he did to her in the class by making fun of him. Yoon, still at the peak of arousal, calls to our proto attention, telling him now is not the time to be acting hesitant after teasing her so much. It is so annoying, she has already lost. With a look of desperation in her eyes, she asks him how much longer is he going to make her embarrass herself. But as Jung looks at her covered rice cake, still in shock of what's taking place, thinks to himself, how could anyone refuse such an opportunity? He lounges at her, reclaiming his dominance. He tells her to remember, she is the one who gave him permission. Jung positions her to face the wall while from behind he lifts her tablecloth and removes her wet rice paper. Guys, Yoon's beautiful thick loaf of bread is now exposed. Yoon stares at Jung as he stares at her beautiful drooling wet rice cake, tucked away between two beautiful lush-looking loaf of bread. She trembles with excitement and shame. Guys, a combination of excitement and shame is a very good thing. Let us know in the comments if you guys have ever experienced this kind of thrill. Jung is in awe. What he now sees goes beyond his imagination. Still, he pulls himself together and unsheaths his Excalibur, but Yoon stops him, telling him to wait. He first needs to remove her play toy. Our proto can see a string dangling from her rice cake. As he pulls on it, a wet oval-shaped device slides out. He thinks out loud, so this is what it looked like. He then comments, if this was really what she had inside her rice cakes, how are they supposed to compare who the pervy sage is? She embarrassingly insists she is not a pervy sage. Seeing her this embarrassed in her current position, Jung gets very excited, with his long thick sword in hand. He tells Yoon he is now going to insert his Excalibur into her rice cake, and he slowly forced his Excalibur into her rice cake. The deed has been done, guys. Jung Excalibur is now immersed deep in Yoon rice cake. As they are both going at it, Jung can't believe he is finally inside her hot rice cake. He can feel the subtle movements on the inside, and this feeling is driving Jung insane. He decides to give in to his animalistic instincts and pound her rice cakes with immense force. She also thinks this is a lot better than doing it by herself, since she can't anticipate how he is going to move, and she can no longer control her voice. Until this morning their relationship was as usual, but to think they are now doing intense exercise together almost seems unreal. As Jung thinks this, he pulls her closer and reaches for her huge beautiful melons. Yoon is startled by his sudden actions, as he asks if he is allowed to touch them. She replies saying it is weird for him to start asking for permission at this point. He proceeds to remove her chest armor, revealing her beautiful, soft watermelons. Sorry I can't give you guys a better description without tripping the YouTube alarms, but just know they are indeed beautiful, guys. They seem to be one of her many weak points. Yes guys, most girls will love when you play with the watermelons. You should always go for the melons, they are tasty and nutritious. As she gets more excited, her moaning keeps getting louder and louder. Our proto reminds her if she keeps singing in his ears he won't hold back, and he starts to train her even harder. She is getting some long hard training with his Excalibur, while her watermelons swing freely. She asks our proto to wait, but he denies her request. Guys, you should learn from our proto. 80% of the time when in an intensive training session, the word stop usually means the opposite. You must read her body language to understand when stop means the opposite. You will thank me later, guys. Suddenly two classmates enter the restroom, startling Jung. Thinking they were caught, he whispers to Yoon not to make a sound. He realizes she was not scared, but instead being in this situation got her very excited. Her rice cake tightens around his Excalibur with sweet honey nectar flowing uncontrollable. Jung now thinks, is possible she enjoys the possibility of getting caught doing her exercise. Even earlier in the classroom, her reaction was the same, but he could be mistaken, so he wants to put it to the test. He whispers to her to keep quiet and starts to slowly hammer Yoon's rice cake. she moans aloud and almost gets caught by the two unaware classmates. She quickly covers her mouth and glares back at Jung with an angry and puzzled expression, as if to say how could he do such a thing to her at a time like this. They continue the exercise session while she tries to keep her voice down. She gets ever so closer to coming while she gets more excited, thinking about what would happen if they were to get caught. There is only a single door separating them from the public audience. Due to this thrilling situation, she gets so excited, without Jung's help, she starts moving by herself while her rice cake is getting wetter and sucking on the Excalibur harder than before. Jung confirms his suspicions. She indeed gets off on being in embarrassing situations. Because of this situation, her rice cake is so wet, it can be heard even though he is moving carefully. They just might get caught while more students are entering and leaving the restroom. He thinks to himself, it should be simple enough to wait for everyone to leave. But he won't do that because, strangely enough, he likes the expression she is making due to the current situation she is in. Jung remembers her toy and suddenly applies it to enhance their exercise with the stimulation of the vibration, which is powerful enough to be felt by his Excalibur. Even though it is deep in that super wet rice cake, she keeps moving of her own accord, causing Jung to get overly excited. He slams his Excalibur deep inside Yoon rice cake, causing her to moan loudly. Thinking now they are definitely caught, they finally notice everyone already left the restroom. Yoon is furious at his action. It seems he was trying to get them caught, but he confesses to her he knows she liked it, and she should be honest. Her rice cake was spewing a fountain. Because she thought they might get caught, she was even shaking her hips profusely. While she continues to deny all his claims, they suddenly hear someone occupying the stall next to theirs. Yoon glares at Jung as if to say he should not try anything or she will end him. Seeing that Yoon still dares to act all high and mighty, Jung pulls her back towards him. While she sits on his Excalibur, he reaches forward, opening the door of their stall, giving Yoon both the biggest shock and thrill of her life, knowing there is someone in the stall next to theirs, and if someone should walk in at any moment they will see them having exercise. She thinks to herself, Jung must be crazy while she tries to close the door, but he stops her. He knows she is enjoying the exercise even more. Despite being exposed for an audience to see, her reactions changed immediately upon opening the door, even though the chances of getting caught are slim. Jung wishes to release his fresh nutritious protein, while Yoon looks on in disbelief. At the sight of his Excalibur repeatedly spearing into her rice cake, she thinks to herself, how could he say she likes this kind of situation? But seeing how turned on she got by being exposed, he thinks about what would happen if he made her even more embarrassed with this kind of indecent exposure. Jung thinks to take things a bit further. He holds her in position, while he stands with her and leads her to the open entrance of the stall. While she wonders why did he suddenly bring her to the entrance of the door, he starts to pound at her rice cake. Surely enough she gets more embarrassed than before, but to her astonishment, this embarrassment soon turns to pleasure as she thinks to herself, she could be caught at any moment. We can see her rice cakes leaking precious holy water. She is so aroused that her body feels like it's on fire. She covers her mouth trying to keep her voice down. As Jung is releasing his protein juice, the stall next to these two suddenly opens, startling both Yoon and Jung. Jung's Excalibur pops out from her rice cakes and vigorously sprays a lot of protein juice. Yoon shakes with satisfaction as she finally gets to climax due to all the indecent exposure and pounding from Jung's great Excalibur. They are now both exhausted and relaxed. The guy coming from the stall next door removes his earpiece while thinking. He definitely heard voices at the stall next to him. He brushes it off as nothing and proceeds to leave the restroom. After a while, Yoon and Jung also leave the restroom, while Jung tries to apologize to Yoon for his earlier actions, explaining he only did it because he really thought she was into it. Upset and still in disbelief that she could really enjoy such indecent actions, she turns around and angrily kicks him in the knee, and then proceeds to walk away enraged. While Jung runs after her, we see Baek Min-ah appears in a suspicious manner. Was she watching their exercise session all this time? Now at home, after calming down, Jung comes to the realization it all wasn't a dream. He really was pounding Yeon rice cake in the restroom and performed a lot of indecent exposure. While he wonders what their relationship will be like going forward and what he will say to her the next time they meet, he reassures himself he did nothing wrong and it was Yeon's fault for taking things that far. And she must have been anticipating their exercise session, but he's really not sure. Jung thought he was giving her an exercise lesson out of revenge, and after he told her to do as she was told, he did not expect she would submit to his command at all. But can he say with confidence that he was not unconsciously lusting after her? Apart from her bad attitude, she has a great body and a pretty face. He remembers every lustful detail of her body. His Excalibur rises, and he must now drain its energy by means of his bare hand before he goes to bed. The scene moves to a dining table set with delicious-looking meals. We see Yeon is having breakfast with her parents, while her mother seems to be chill and easygoing. Her father seems to be more of the strict type, while he reprimands her not to sit idle at the table. Her mother, however, does the opposite and inquires if she has something on her mind, which Yeon replies to with a no. Her father then continues, declaring, a student her age has nothing to worry about. If she goes to school and studies well, that will be enough, but if she goes around doing useless things she will have worries. While Yeon sits annoyed at another lecture from her father, he inquires about her recent activities. He reminds her they are sending her to college, and she should be studying, not going to parties and drinking around. Yeon's mother butts in, reminding her husband that Yeon is now an adult, and she needs to learn how to socialize and date guys. But this ticks the old man the wrong way. He makes it clear if Yeon is going to date a guy, he will assess whether or not that guy gets a chance to date his daughter. Yeon then leaves the dinner table while her father reprimands her because he is not done talking. She ignores him and enters her room. While closing the door behind her, she swoops into her bed. Thinking of her stressful father, she thinks he would go crazy on her if she was to be truthful and reply that she had sex with a guy at school today. She then starts to remember all the events that took place today. Still in awe that she really did such things at school, she ravaged through her bag in search of her pink device, but remembers in the end Jung kept it. Not having her pink toy at this moment is not helping. When she gets stressed, this activity is the only thing she can do to relieve her stress, so she simply resorts to the cavewoman method and strolls her hand into her rice cake. We can see she is getting very aroused. While thinking about the events that took place at school, she tries to recall when did this exhibitionism habit of hers all started. From she was a child her household was strict, her dad's rigid nature, sharp curfew hours, frequent contact, not being able to sleep out, maybe because of these reasons. In the end her only distraction was an old computer in her room, from which she discovered various pleasing exercise acts. Now it has become an habit for her to frequently play with the rice cake when she is alone. However, she needed something more thrilling, so she experimented with her pink device, but she did not anticipate getting caught. While she thinks about all this, she starts to get even more aroused, because the thought of any such indecent act is like her kryptonite. She thinks even though she did intense exercise with Jung today, she is still not tired of playing with her rice cake, even though she was called such names, and did something that does not paint a good picture of herself. Though she keeps telling herself there is no way she could have enjoyed being in such an uncompromising state, she gets more aroused thinking about being exposed, which gets her closer to coming. She is trying to blame Jung for her current state, because now she craves the previous mood he had created at school. Now all she wants is something different. While she tries to recreate the mood by convincing herself there are people behind her room door, leaving her no choice but to hold back her moans. She feels like something is different, even though playing with her rice cake like she usually does still feels good enough to make her climax. Yeon thinks to herself that something is missing, and the usual method is no longer satisfying. She then remembers her exercise with Jung in the restroom, while she thinks about opening her room door to recreate the situation. She reprimands herself not to think about such useless things, and to instead focus on her playing with her rice cake, but the more she tries to convince herself she is not about the exhibitionism lifestyle, the more turned on she gets by the thought. Simultaneously, Jung and Yi-yoon achieve maximum satisfaction while thinking about each other. Guys, the love is brewing, but exercising alone compared to exercising with each other is a big difference, and Yi-yoon is thirsting for more Excalibur. As the day passes by, Jung is back at school. He is sure to bump into Yi-yoon, but he has yet to organize his thoughts regarding what he will say to her. He wants to avoid her, but he can't miss this class. Instead, he decides to stay hidden as much as possible, so that they don't run into each other. This immediately fails. As he turns the corner, both Jung and Yi-yoon enter a state of shock seeing each other. Their shocked expressions slowly turns to awkward silence and confusion, while either of the pair can't decide what to say to each other. Both surprised to see each other, Jung takes the lead by asking Yi-yoon, please, to understand he is not a bad guy, and what happened the day before was not planned. He is not trying to shift the blame onto her. He is far from innocent, but if she wants proof of his innocence, as a man he is willing to take responsibility for their actions. Yi-yoon, however, gets angry at Jung for uttering such gross statements. He should instead forget about what happened the day before. He should be satisfied now that he has tormented her as much as he liked, and she will no longer mess around with him anymore. End of conversation. As she walks away, she reminds him not to think they are now a thing because they had exercise once. He is being annoyed and making it very obvious he is a loser. She walks to her class still confused as to what he was talking about. Now in class, Jung is thankful for her reaction. He was anticipating being cursed at or having his weakness used against him, but it all worked out the way he wanted. Now they can forget what happened and keep their distance from each other. However, he can't help the feeling of disappointment, and Yi-yoon can't stop thinking about what he could have meant by saying he would take responsibility. She thinks maybe it meant he wanted to date her. At the end of the day, Yi-yoon is back home getting an earful from her father. He objects to her request to go live on her own. He thinks all she wants is the opportunity to invite boys over, and besides, her school is very close to their home, making it a lot more cost-effective for her to commute to school from their home. But that was far from the true reason behind her request. As she lays in bed upset, thinking her father's behavior towards her, treating her like a kid all the time, is exactly the reason why she wants to leave. Now stressed again, she reaches for her only source of comfort. As she reaches for her play toy, she reaches into her rice cake paper and helps herself to some stress relief. The next morning, Yi-yoon is woken by her parents. Startled because she fell asleep unexpectedly, she looks intently towards her rice cake, seemingly still hot and bothered. She gets ready for school and can be seen leaving her room. She is greeted by her parents and bids them goodbye while she thinks whether or not it's a stupid idea. Leaving home again with her toy hidden deep in her rice cakes. She reassures herself there is no other way to have fun, so she can do something as stupid as this because she won't get caught. Deep down she wants to be caught. She remembers how she got caught by Jung the last time, and the fact that she suggested being punished more might be because she wants something to change about her life. Maybe she has no right to say their unexpected exercise session was a bad thing. Yi-yoon curses herself for being petty and pledges to stop thinking about what happened between her and Jung. It is all in the past. She won't be bothered by it anymore. She looks behind her to see Jung. He is not registered for this course. She threatens to tell on him. He quickly explains he had some free time, and why is she being like this? She doesn't have to tell on him because he will just leave the class. Ever since they had exercised together that day, Jung has started to notice her more. Everything ended the way he wanted it to, so there is no reason for him to feel bad. If others were to notice him following her around, they would assume he is stalking her, and now that he is seeing such a pretty Yi-yoon from afar, he is noticing things he had not seen when he was closer. like the fact she is unexpectedly caring towards other, or the fact she has a lot of friends, but she's never seen having fun with them, and she is unexpectedly clumsy. She forgot her purse at her desk after class. Luckily Jung was there to take her purse to the lost and found desk. Jung wonders why he now feels bad about this. They were close to each other for a while, but he knows nothing about her. However, there is no way to know now because they are no longer close friends, he tells himself. Starting the next day he will stop following her around and start living a clean life, but this was merely Jung's self-deception at work. We see Jung noticeably follows closely behind Yoon the next day, and the next day, and the next day. She is aware of his persistent trailing of her, and she has had enough. She angrily shouts at him, instructing him to stop following her, and asks what is his purpose for following her. Maybe he has something he wants to say, and if that is the case he should just say it. He embarrassingly stutters for a bit before he asks if she had found her purse, and he was the one who found it, then left it at the lost and found office. He also takes this opportunity to point it out to her that she is clumsy, and she should know he would get worried if she does stuff like this immediately when he is no longer hanging around her. With a suspicious and frustrated look, Yoon takes him to an empty classroom. Once again she demands an explanation as to why he is following her. He tries to deny it is any other reason besides the purse that he found, but she is not falling for his tricky words. She knows he has never been the kind to worry about her, and tells him to be honest and tell her his true purpose for following her around all week. After a while of thinking, Jung concludes to himself that he does not know why he has been following her around like a lost puppy, but if he gives such an explanation, it will turn into a "do you like me" kind of situation. While he thinks this, Yoon starts to ask "do you?" Afraid to hear her complete question, he blurts out he wants to have another intense exercise session with her. Naturally, Yoon is very shocked at his abrupt request. As she pulls away, she asks if he only thinks with his Excalibur he has been following her all this time just for that one reason. Jung tries to pass it off as misspoken words, but Yoon makes it clear she now thinks of him as a bad person, as if she once recognized him as a good person. After convincing her his tongue slipped, she inquires if he had a different reason. Then, giving Jung enough time to think, she tried to reaffirm the fact that they would unbothering each other, and she wouldn't bother him any longer. As she further inquires if he is satisfied with that, a jolt of inspiration brings Jung back to reality. He wants to know what would happen if he is not happy. He decides to try and cover his blunder with plausible nonsense by blaming her for everything that happened. He stands upright, unfazed and confident while he looks down on her. He reaffirms the facts that she was the one who was manipulating everything, and it is unfair to call it even after all she did to him. He still has his grudge against her. Now surprised, she asks if he hasn't already done everything he wanted to do to her. Jung calls her nonsense and proceeds to explain his point. He explains he does not like her haughty attitude, behaving as if she showed him mercy. Seeing how Yoon is now getting all riled up and flustered, he thinks to himself he should keep pretending like she was in the wrong. He explains he was not the one who started all this. Yoon is now feeling guilt as she suggests his claims to be ridiculous. She inquires if she was to do more, even though he teased her all he could. Now he is going back on his words. Jung boastfully assures her that what he did was merely child's play. He is capable of doing much more. Subconsciously this piques her interest, and without realizing what she is about to say, with surprising interest, she asks Jung to give her examples of what he will do to her. Immediately realizing the implications of the question she just asked, while Jung tries to answer her question, she zones out into deep thoughts. Wondering why has she been so weird recently, and comes to the conclusion it is because she desires a stimulation or some form of change in her life. She wants to refrain from acting upon her desires, but thinks besides a ridiculous situation like this, there was nowhere else to find such a stimulation. After all, she can't even make a boyfriend of her own. Hence this could be a great chance to feel that Excalibur she has been craving, guys. As she remembers her old man nagging her day in and day out, she builds up her confidence and agrees to partake in one last heated, sweaty exercise session. She wants to know if doing this one last time will satisfy his grudge, and in order to not change his mind again, he should promise to do everything he wants to do to her. Translation: she wants him to show her all the dirty little exercise moves he possibly can. I bet her little rice cake is making a mess of the dinner table legs as she agrees to his request. The scene shifts to her waiting at a street light as she ignores her father's pestering messages. She is being treated like a kid, and she won't be having that cup of tea today, guys. She wants protein shakes instead. Yoon is the one who picked this spot, and even though it is far away from their college, Jung complains as to why he still needs to keep his distance. She then explains someone could still see them. Suddenly reality hits Jung. He pictures Yoon in his head and thinks they are really about to partake in vigorous exercise session again. But why is she so unpredictable? A single slip of tongue leads to all this. He then thinks about his true reason for following her all week, and wonders if he should confess that he really just want to hang out with her like previous days. But it is too late. They already came this far. No one could possibly resist such an opportunity, and besides, what she is thinking about could aid him in deciding whether he really loves her or not. They are both now in a motel room. Jung tries to snap out of his nervousness as he reminds himself he has already done exercise with her once before. He is about to tell her what to do first, but to his surprise, she is way ahead of him as she already removed most of her battle armor. Guys, she is very eager to battle with his Excalibur. She explains it's a hassle to set the mood with him, and she doesn't want to waste any time, so he should just do it quickly. With a slight bit hesitation, Jung accepts her hospitality. The scene moves to the bed as she lays on her back. Jung fiddles around in confusion, wonder where to start. The first time they exercised was so hectic that he just followed his instincts, but this time, doing it properly, was it always this nerving? He reminded himself to keep calm, as she already gave him permission to do as he wish. He tries to remove the covers off the beautiful perfect-sized watermelons, but she is so stiff that it makes it almost impossible to get them loose. She tells Jung she won't do anything, so he should just do whatever he wants. But this makes no sense. Both partners need to be active for an exercise session to end happily. After all, he asks her to lift her body just a little. She agrees, and off comes the covers. Her watermelons are now coverless. As he squeezes both to test for elasticity, weight and firmness, he is left in awe as just looking at them makes his hands move unconsciously. Those melons are impossible to resist. Unable to resist her moans any longer, Jung removes his armor and asks Yoon to also remove her armor. While they exercise, her parents are at home, curious as to why she is not yet at home, and not calling to give them updates as to her location. Her father is pissed. Lol. The scene shifts to Jung staring at Yoon with great admiration. His staring causes Yoon to look away in embarrassment, while she wonders why he is spreading her beautiful rice cake wide open. He then surprises Yoon when suddenly he digs his face into her rice cake. This man is eating as he has never eaten before, guys. She immediately holds him by the hair assertively and pushes him away while she looks at him, startled by his sudden actions. He angrily inquires what is her problem, to which she replies with the same question. Jung explains he has to first get her rice cake wet before he can use his Excalibur to dig in and enjoy the feast. She pretends to understand his reasoning. She explains she was just startled because he did not eat the rice cake the last time they exercise. Jung then explained he did not need to do this the last time as her rice cake was already flooding. Guys, take note the importance of long foreplay. Jung eagerly returns to eating his meal while she stares at him having a taste of her rice cake. This is her first time experiencing this form of exercise, guys. She makes an observation that it tickles like a little bit, but maybe it doesn't feel bad. But we can clearly see she is having the experience of a lifetime as she trembles with pleasure. Jung notices that she is enjoying every bit of their warm-up session, and her rice cake is now wet and ready to receive his Excalibur. Before he gets a chance to enter, Yoon reminds him to wear that thing. not wanting to say the name because she is too embarrassed to say such a vulgar thing. Jung reassures her he brought one just in case and quickly covered his Excalibur before pressing against the entrance of Yeon rice cake. Overwhelmed with anticipation, Yeon stares intently at her rice cake being impaled by Jung long thick Excalibur. While they are going at it, he notices her facial expression. He did not she could be like this. She has always been so arrogant, but because of the way she is being right now he won't hold back. While her rice cake gets pumped hard, over and over, she does not want to admit the fact that she is really enjoying such an embarrassing moment. Whenever she is with Jung this always happens, it's like she is out of her mind, but she does not want to think about this at the moment. Instead she wants to focus on the pleasure of the current exercise. While they go at it, Yeon Ad keeps calling interrupting their exercise session. At first she refused to answer, but eventually she thought it would be best to answer it. The caller ID said Ad, and so she hesitantly answered, ordering Jung not to dare make a sound. As she answers the call she is greeted by her dad's loud angry shout, asking her where the hell has she been all this time. She should hurry home. Based on the conversation Jung hypothesized it to be her dad. She immediately reminds her dad she is no longer a child, and he should stop being so loud. She simply had urgent business to attend to with a friend. Her dad suggests she should have at least called and notify him of this. He suddenly yells at her again, demanding she put her friend on the call in order for him to verify whether she is lying or telling the truth. Yeon asks if he really means to go that far, but her father sees this response as her being doggy about the matter. Yeon gets extremely irritated and decides she has had enough. She shouts at her father, telling him to leave her alone and to stop treating her like a child. Then she immediately ends the call, leaving her dad in disbelief. He angrily mutters how dare she hangs up on him. He will teach her a lesson when she gets home. Jung, realizing her situation, suggests they should end their session for the day, but Yeon reassures him there is no need for concern. Besides, is he already satisfied? So far their current session is nothing compared to their first experience with each other. Jung agrees and proceeds to resume their current exercise routine, reassuring her it is just the start. Jung starts again with a warm-up routine. He uses his hands to massage her rice cake thoroughly while he sucks on those melons. This causes Yeon rice cake to produce lots of sweet nectar. Jung then asks her to turn around, not because he doesn't like to see her pretty face, but because the view of her plump buns and thick curvy rice cake is just as satisfying. He thrusts Excalibur into rice cake, intensifying the workout session so much Yeon takes the initiative to instruct Jung to thrust harder. To this request he immediately complies. Yeon notices the increase in his aggression and wonders if she is just imagining this. He pushes her face forward onto the bed while she trembles with pleasure. Shamelessly she begs for more. Seemingly her stance has changed. Earlier she simply told him to do whatever he wanted, but now she is actually the one instructing him to thrust Excalibur into rice cake harder. For a while they both glare at each other with live interest before Jung redirects the focus to the intense exercise. She grips the sheet with a blissful face expression. She continues to tremble with pleasure. The more he thrusts Excalibur into the rice cake, the more nectar her rice cake produces. Seeing her reaction gets Jung even more aggressive. He towers over her in a position of dominance. She now moans loudly, and her eyes produce tears of joy. Jung notifies her that he is nearing his limit. As his Excalibur releases fresh steamy protein, she can feel the protein bursting towards her oven. They both climax together and tremble with pleasure. Yeon finally starts to be more open and honest as she asks Jung if he is already done, indirectly saying she still wants more. He understands this and taunts her for acting as if she did not climax, trying to pretend as if she did not lose to his Excalibur, or instead, maybe she has been wanting to do exercise with him all along. Unexpectedly she immediately gives a direct answer, saying she is not sure, leaving Jung surprised. He was expecting her reply to be something like "Don't ask me such a stupid question." She once more asks him indirectly if he can still go again. This time Jung decides to be more assertive. He tells her if she wants to do more, he will lay on his back this time, and she will have to do the moving on her own. Seeing him act like this, she wonders if he isn't the one showing that he hates to lose, but she told him to do anything, and he now wants to try this exercise routine. Knowing her usual personality, he starts to wonder if she will refuse, but to his surprise she stands and moves forward towards him without hesitation. Taking a hold of his Excalibur, she warns him in advance not to complain if she is bad at riding Excalibur. He assures her it will be easy, all he did was to move his back when he was the one doing the thrusting. As she listens to his words, she holds Excalibur in her hands, thinking to herself, it feels weird that is all he did, and it made her climax. Without further hesitation, she spreads her ice cake open with the tip of Excalibur. As she slowly lets down her body weight, Excalibur goes deeper and deeper, while her ice cake drools sweet nectar, allowing Excalibur to enter ice cake quite easily. As Excalibur is completely consumed by her rice cake, she shivers with pleasure. She then asks Jung if it is okay for her to now move, and without an answer, she starts to move on her own. Jung finds this feeling to be surprisingly comfortable, and he can see her aroused face expression as well. As time goes by, she gets more into it. As she rides, he starts to feel like she is serving him, so he wonders if he can demand more. As he asks Yoon to try doing it a bit more passionately, she stops and stares at him. He wonders if his request made her upset, but to his surprise, she immediately moves forward, placing both hands on his chest, and proceeds to ride Excalibur with immense passion. She thrusts up and down like a pro. With a shy but cute expression, she asks Jung if she is doing it right. This causes Jung to get super excited as he pulls himself upwards and closer to her face. She turns away flustered and asks him not to get too close. Jung takes this opportunity to highlight the fact of her weird behavior throughout the day. She acted as though she was unwilling to do this, but then turned aggressive midway. Yoon replies that he is usually dense but gets sharp when he is making others embarrassed. Jung asks with surprise if he is making her embarrassed, which causes her to blush and shyly turn her face away and think to herself, maybe it will be alright, and she just don't want to carry about anything anymore. So she finally speaks up and tells Jung she will let him know if he can make her climax. With a shocked and somewhat frustrated expression, Jung asks if she thinks he cannot make her climax. Facing each other, he reaches his hands behind her and grips her two beautiful round plump buns, and proceeds to hammer away at her ice cake. Yoon suddenly feels a shock of pleasure throughout her body, while Jung's mind gets preoccupied with the sensation of her perfect supple watermelons rubbing against his body. The pleasure seems to be too much for Yoon as she mumbles, "Stop, I want to take a break." But this request instead causes Jung to go harder as he reminds her she is not allowed to go back on her words. They both reach the peak of pleasure as they end their exercise session with an intense climax. All the excitement and animalistic instinct have now exited their system. They sit beside each other looking flustered and guilty for the previous acts that had transpired. Jung thinks to himself he has learned something unexpected. Do all parents raise their daughters like this? Similarly, Yoon thinks to herself, even though she has not told her friends personal stuff about herself, it was not hard for her to tell Jung, and maybe it is because she has already shown him more embarrassing stuff. Yoon then turns to Jung and states she insulted him by calling him a P-word, but then used him to refresh herself, and for that she is sorry. Jung assures her there is no need to apologize. She tells Jung that they did everything today and suggests he should no longer have any grudges remaining. With a sad expression, Jung thinks to himself that now it is really all over and wonders if she is satisfied with ending things like this, as if they end things like this, then nothing will change for her. Jung musters courage, stands, and shouts Sunbae, shocking Yoon. Jung states it is a waste to end it like this, since they already started it, they should now just do it seriously, reassuring her he will change her everyday life. Assuring her he will change